Welcome to Learn English with Fun Stories. This English for Level 10. Read with me.
Hi everyone. My name is Maya. And today I'm going to share the story of my very first flight. It was an experience I had always dreamed of. And when it finally happened, it was even more incredible than I imagined. The story begins on a Saturday morning, when my parents surprised me with some exciting news. We were going to visit my grandparents, who lived in a different city. And this time, instead of driving, we were going to fly. My heart skipped a beat. I had never been on a plane before, and the idea of flying through the clouds thrilled me. The week leading up to our trip was filled with anticipation. I asked my parents countless questions about what flying would be like, how the plane would take off, what the clouds would look like up close, and if I'd be able to see the cities and towns below us. They answered all my questions patiently, but they also wanted some things to be a surprise. Finally, the day arrived. We woke up early, packed our bags, and headed to the airport. The airport itself was like a whole new world to me. It was huge, with so many people, shops, and the constant sound of announcements. I held tightly to my mom's hand as we made our way through the terminal. Checking in our luggage and passing through security, everything was so new and exciting. When we reached our gate, we could see the plane through the large windows. It was much bigger than I had imagined, and I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Soon, it was time to board. We walked through the jet bridge, and stepping onto the plane felt like stepping into a dream. The seats were arranged neatly, and the flight attendants greeted us with warm smiles. We found our seats near a window, my favorite spot. I buckled my seatbelt and stared out the window, watching as the ground crew prepared the plane. My heart was racing, and I kept wondering what it would feel like when we finally took off. The captain's voice came over the speakers, announcing that we were ready for departure. The plane began to move, slowly at first, taxiing towards the runway. As we reached the runway, the engines roared to life and the plane began to speed up. I pressed my face against the window, my hands gripping the armrests, and then, with a slight jolt, we were off the ground. I watched in awe as the airport The cars and the buildings all started to shrink. We were flying. Once we were in the air, the plane leveled off, and everything outside the window looked peaceful. The clouds were fluffy and white, and the sun was shining brightly. It felt like we were gliding through a dream world. I couldn't stop staring out the window, amazed at how different everything looked from up here. The fields below looked like patchwork quilts, and the rivers and roads snaked through the landscape like ribbons. As we flew, the flight attendants brought us snacks and drinks. I had a small bag of pretzels and a cup of apple juice. Eating snacks while soaring thousands of feet above the ground felt surreal. My parents smiled at my excitement, and I could tell they were happy to see me enjoying my first flight so much. I felt a little sad that the flight was coming to an end, but I was also excited to see my grandparents. As the plane began to descend, I watched as the ground grew closer and closer. We passed through layers of clouds, and soon I could see the city we were flying into. The landing was smooth, and before I knew it, we were back on solid ground. As we taxied to the gate, I couldn't stop smiling. I had done it. I had flown for the first time when we stepped off the plane and into the airport. I felt a sense of accomplishment and excitement. My grandparents were waiting for us, and after we greeted them with big hugs, I couldn't wait to tell them all about my experience. That night, as I lay in bed at my grandparents' house, I replayed the entire flight in my mind, the thrill of takeoff, the beauty of the clouds, and the excitement of landing. It was all so vivid and amazing. My first flight had been everything I hoped for and more. It was the beginning of my love for travel, and I knew I'd always cherish the memory of that day. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to embrace new experiences, no matter how big or small, because sometimes they turn out to be even more wonderful than you could ever imagine. Don't forget to subscribe.